Hey there. So we're going to be making a goddess bracelet today, and I'm doing it with jump rings. I've seen it demonstrated with wire wrap and heard it mentioned that you could do it with jump rings, so I tried it and I liked it that way. So these are our materials. So we've got our jump rings, which are 8 centimeters, and we've got a lobster claw that's going to be our closure, and it's roughly 3/4 of an inch. It's one of the Heidi Joe collection from Joann's. And then I got these cute little glass beads. They're white glass beads, but they've been dyed blue, and the ends of them have been left white, and I just really like the way that looks. So we'll be using those. So we've got 45 of our beads. We're using for the main portion of the bracelet. There'll be 42 of the jump rings, and plus 2 more jump rings for each end of the bracelet as well. One connected to the lobster claw, and an additional one at the other end for attaching, for the closure. Alright, and also we'll be using white wax linen, and this is 4 feet long. And the tools we'll be using will be my bent nose pliers and my straight nose pliers, and I'll be using those to open up and straighten out the jump rings. And the first thing we need to do is sort out our jump rings. And what I need to do here is I need to make sure, because these jump rings are right out of the box basically, and I need to make sure that they're all properly closed. And so that one's fine. And also what I need to do is I need to join them in a chain, and that one's got a little bit of a gap to it, so I just wiggle it back and forth until that gap is closed. And on this one, I'm actually going to join 2 jump rings to it. What I need is a chain of 42 rings, and I don't really need to open all of the rings to do that long of a chain. I just have to open like every other ring and join 2 to it, and then continue until I've got all connected. And something I should talk about is the length of the bracelet itself. That this finished bracelet is roughly 9 inches long, and I tend to make my bracelets longer because I'm a tall person and I just need a longer bracelet. And for adjusting for a smaller size, so this has got 42 links and it's 9 inches. I would say if you wanted an 8-inch bracelet, you should probably remove at least 5 beads and 4 of the links, and that'll get you closer to 8 inches for the finished length. And now what we're going to do is first off, I'm going to check my rings I set aside. I haven't done anything to yet, and make sure that they've got a firm closure, which I like that one. And at this point I'm just going to go ahead and attach the lobster claw to this ring. Alright, and where I like to start is with the closure end of the ring that we're going to be using for our closure. And basically what I'll be doing a lark's head knot on here with 2 half-hitch knots on either side of it to spread out the cord, because I am doing the goddess bracelet, I need a little bit more distance between my cord at the beginning, so it helps accommodate for the beads. So lark's head knot is just down. It's going to be into the loop from the front to the back, and then the cords will just be pulled through the loop from the front to the back. And that way our little bridge part will be right here at the front. And now we're going to put a half hitch knot on either side just to spread our cord out enough so when we start lacing on our beads, we have that space to start with, and it doesn't make our beads want to be all crunched up and crowded at the beginning. Gives a little bit more space at the beginning of the project. Alright, so once you get your cord onto your first jump ring, which is going to be the closure piece, we're going to start stringing our beads on. And because of the way this goes together, we can't pre-string our beads. That just won't work. So we do have to string them one at a time. And so after we get the first bead on, we're going to tie an overhand knot underneath it, and we're going to get that knot up as close as possible. To the base of the bead, because this is what's going to hold our beads in place, and the knot itself adds to the aesthetic as well. Alright, now we're going to bring in our jump rings. So you're going to take both of your cords and run them through the first jump ring. And yes, your jump rings are going to go back and forth a bit as we work through this, but it will make sense. Alright, so the cord that does not have a bead on it yet, now we're going to be adding its first bead. And again, the wax linen cord is really nice that it goes right through the bead without problems. Of course, until I run into a problem. Alright, and again, doing an overhand knot, and we're getting it up as close as possible to the base of the bead. And this process, like I said, it's twofold. It holds the bead in place, and it also helps with making the entire bracelet as tight together as possible. So now we're going to run both cords through the next jump ring, and there's no predetermined direction on the jump ring. It'll be obvious once you're working it that the jump ring needs to be coming up towards this bead, and they'll start actually forming the fit around the beads as we go. Right, so each time you're going to be bringing both cords through the jump ring and beading the previous cord for the beading. So you're alternating your cords. Okay, so whatever cord that you put the bead on prior to this section, you're putting your bead on the other cord. Right, and again, we're doing the overhand knot and getting it up as tight and close as possible to that bead. And then we're taking both of our cords and running them through the next jump ring. And you'll be pulling everything tight as you go. Alright, so now I'm down to doing the last bead, and I did miscount my jump rings. There's actually 44, not 42. So before I actually tighten up this last jump ring, I want to actually, this last bead with a knot, I want to add the final jump ring with the lobster claw as the closure, because as soon as I finish adding this bead, we're going to be closing things up. The reason I didn't add the lobster claw earlier is because it would just be flopping around in my way. So I always add it at the end. Okay. So now I'm going to tighten up the last bead and tie its knot. So you can see how much of the cord that we use up just in tying just an overhand knot. It's just fascinating. So we started out with 4 feet of cord, 2 feet on either side, and yeah, used up a lot of it. Alright, so now we're going to actually be attaching our cord to the jump ring that the lobster claw is on to finish things off. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm doing the cords one at a time, and I'm going to be doing a double half hitch knot with each cord. And then once we get the double half hitch knots on here, we'll be running the cords back down into 3 beads. Each cord is going to go through 3 beads, and that will secure it. Alright, so once we get the double half hitch knots done, then we're going to do a surgeon's knot, which is wrapping it around a couple of times, pulling it up tight. And the one thing about wax linen is this cord really holds on to itself really, really well. And what we're going to be doing is, for the ends of our cords, we're going to actually be burying them within our double half hitch knots. And this is going to be a little bit of a challenge here for a moment, so be patient. Alright, so we're going to use a tapestry needle, and we're going to go back through our double half hitch knot, on one side and then the other side. And then we're going to repeat with the other end of other cord. And the one thing I really like about the wax linen is it holds on to itself really, really well. So we're going to go ahead and snip this one off. Because it will stay embedded in our knot, and this one as well. there you have it. We have our goddess bracelet, and it's done with the overhand knots to secure each one of the beads, and it's really nice how it turns, and it's almost cylindrical but not quite. You know, it's not really flat, it's not totally round, it's just interesting, and I really like the aesthetic that the jump rings add to this particular bracelet. And again, with the lobster claw, I do go for this larger size lobster claw with this, because when you're putting it on yourself, it's just easier to be able to grab and open this lobster claw for closing. So I hope you enjoyed this, and this will actually be available on my Etsy page. It's there already. So I hope you enjoy it, and I had fun making it for you guys, and I'd like to see what you guys come up with when you go ahead and make the goddess bracelet with the jump rings. Alright, so please subscribe and like my video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.